Cardfight Vanguard Divines just released its second booster set in Illusionless Strife. In this series, I'll be going over all of the new decks that came out within this set. In this video, I'll be going over the new Keter Sanctuary ride line, Fated One of Time, Liael Armatoa. Liael is the secret 7th Fated One unit in Season 1's Fated Clash. She binds her rearguards to get additional attacks and is able to send back the bound units for a perfect guard. Our main grade 3 is Fated One of Time, Liael Armatoa. Whenever Liael attacks, it can bind one of your rearguards to call a unit with the same name from deck. This gives the deck an additional attack and also fuels its second effect that whenever you guard with it and your Vanguard is a Fated One unit, you can send 2 bound cards to the bottom of the deck to perfect guard and attack. This is good because shield value in standard isn't always the best, and having 3 more potential perfect guards in the deck makes it a lot more consistent on living turns. And Liael's Divine skill allows you to rewrite into Liael from the drop after it attacked a grade 3 Vanguard, and it gets -1 drive. So in combination with Liael's first effect, you can get 6 attacks very easily. For the rest of the ride line, we are playing Adorphus, which draws 2 and discards a card whenever you ride over it with Elegenia. Elegenia, when rode upon, will put any normal units back to the deck from drop and draws a card with it. This ride line is pretty good since it is self-fueling from Adorphus putting 2 normal units in drop and Elegenia being able to put them back. A primary unit we want to be putting back is Sword Saint of Itinerant Edurus. Edurus is a 20k beater if there's another copy of it in bind, and when it is bound, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw and give the Vanguard plus 5k power. Edurus gives the deck a consistent beater while also helping circumvent the lack of power and card draw Liael gets on its own. Like in Liael, we are playing the same order package as before. Wisdom of Beginning draws 2 and calls 2 when you use it, which makes Teethfall live to call a card from the top 5. And then Sir Gaon can also retire itself to check top 2 to add a card in hand. This package also helps this deck hit numbers since Liael doesn't gain or give any additional power. For the Regardless piece, we are playing Gratias Gradle because we want to have as many chances to use Liael's Perfect Guard effect without sacrificing Persona Rides. Gratias Gradle adds another Persona Ride in the deck to help be in less of those awkward situations. And for our Overtrigger, we are playing Valnot because it helps give the deck a potential extra attack, but any of the other Overtriggers are fine options as well. A primary Mulligan target is Wisdom of the Beginning since it digs deeper into the deck and sets up Sir Gaon and Teethfall. It helps the deck get a good early game going and digs even deeper in the deck. Then next is Sir Gaon since it is a very strong early game tool to help set up and find pieces for the later stages of the game. Then it's Liael to secure Persona Ride. During the early game, you want to utilize the order package to build a board while maintaining a decent hand size. Getting a good push early is really big on making the later turns more threatening. Then transitioning into grade 3 turn, you want to have Edurus to be able to bind off Liael, which helps keep the momentum up. You basically only want to use Liael's Divine skill combined with your Persona Ride. You basically only use the Divine skill if you think you're going to win that turn or butcher the opponent's hand enough to make the following turn super weak. Whenever you do use the Divine skill, you get an additional card in hand from the drive check and potentially another card if you bind Edurus from the on attack skill. The other point to note is when you Divine skill, you accelerate an additional card in the bind zone to fuel Liael's guard ability. A couple cards I didn't talk about that are in here was Biscotti, because this deck doesn't naturally use energy, so having Biscotti makes it a lot more consistent and convenient. Also, calling it off Liael mid-battle phase to stack the deck to hit a trigger on the drive check is very big. Spell Cutie Angel is also played here to help make the early game discards a bit easier. The Soul Blast also fuels Elegenia's cost for needing 3 normal units in drop. There is also Sages, which helps get Soul back and can break through any defensive power. The last card is Euphoria, which is a 13k booster while having Liael as a Vanguard, and when it boosts, it can be a 15k booster and can bot deck units from your drop to give another unit plus 5k. Now, there is a budget build because holy crap, this deck is expensive. We took out the order package, the cyclers, and Sages. Instead, we put in a Warrior's Rest to help give the deck extra numbers. We put in Sacrosanct Dragon, which becomes a 15k beater and draws when placed by a card's ability, which makes it another card target for Liael. It can also work in tandem with another card we are playing, which is Forceps Angel, which can call something from top 3 and becomes an 18k beater itself on Persona Ride. Painkiller Angel, since it can convert to a draw at the end of the turn. Now, this this deck is using a lot of soul. In order to help mitigate that, we are playing F Puri since it soul charges every time it boosts. Riding and having 1 F Puri each turn makes it easier to maintain all the soul costs this deck is using. Liael is a very fun deck, and like Liael, since the core way this deck plays is very few cards, there are a ton of ways to change and make this deck work the way you want it to. You can make it as cheap or as expensive as you want, and this deck will probably still work fine. And that's it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one.